Gilligan.
Okay, we are, sorry.
And I'm Skipper.
I always try to get so prepared, starting at 3:30, bringing stuff over, and then that's running an event center. So, hey, thank you for coming. We are recording now, and I've got Jean is on the screen. Is there anyone else on Zoom that we need to address? Okay.
We got mics on.
Mics are on. Should be on. If yours is on, you should be able to hear. So be sure that's on. And Steve, go ahead and call us to order if you will.
All right, call the meeting to order at 4:05. Look at the approval of the agenda that was handed out via email by Doug. Any changes, omissions, or additions?
I'd like to add one addition. It would go to number 12 before adjournment. Adjournment will become 13. It would be the Romeo Entertainment entertainment contract request. Romeo Entertainment contract request would be number 12.
Okay. We'll add that to the agenda. Any more additions, omissions, or changes? Thank you.
Okay, Hallie.
If none, need a motion and a second to approve the agenda.
So moved.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Yep, I am.
So,
Approval of the minutes from the last meeting, which was held on January 5th here at the council chambers.
those were emailed out to you as well. Maybe of a clarification, we introduced the contracts in the discussion, but because they were not listed within the agenda as an item, we weren't able to move on those. So that's why they're on there today.
Okay. Approval of the minutes.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried for the approval of the minutes. We'll move up to the director's report with Doug Greenway.
Okay, thank you, Steve. And again, thanks everybody. I'll try to be brief because we want to get right to our, we've got several contract items we want to talk about. And I should note that the Dakota Wesleyan professor, Kyle Hergis, and some of the students are going to come about 4:10, 4:15 as we go into executive session. They will go with us. That'll be the first item. And then we'll excuse them and then handle the other two executive items and then come out of executive session. Okay? Okay, I just wanted to give you a little bit of information about events. I just try to be pretty transparent without giving away too much about numbers and things like that. But we were requested, all department heads, to give an annual report from each department. So the Corn Palace is part of that, and we turned that in. Nick and I both worked on that. But a little bit about visitor numbers for 2020. Total numbers, and again, these are through our doors. They're pretty accurate, but that also counts our staff, and we walk in and out 4 times a day. But that's always been the case. So I don't think they're much different of how they've been counted for the last 5 to 7 years, as far as that goes. So a total of 371,077 visitors to the Corn Palace in 2019. Okay, in 2020. 272,106. That's a 27% decrease in total visitors for the year, which is in line of where I think I'd given you a little bit of information last year about how we were doing via COVID. 27% decrease in total visitors for the year. During the closed period, so March 16th, we closed and we lost our first event, AAU Wrestling, on the 14th. Officially closed to the public on the 16th, reopened on May 18th when tourism moved in, which was kind of earlier than normal because we didn't have graduations. That was May 18th, right?
It was still the normal time, though.
Oh, it was?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, through that time, we had 3,075 visitors. In 2019, 45,900. Okay, so we lost, keep in mind, all those events, March and April. It was substantial, the 93% decrease. Looking at 2020, before we closed for COVID, the first 3.5 months of 2020, prior to COVID, we had a 20% increase in visitors from 2019. We were at 45,400 in 2019, 54,681 in 2020. So we were on our way to having a much higher year before it. So it was substantial.
What month was that?
That was January, February, all the way up to March 16th. So basically basketball tournament season. Some of those large events, and there's literally 15 of them that were canceled. March, AAU Wrestling, Oak Ridge Boys Concert, Wingapalooza, the Avera Christmas Party. April, Central Electric, Banquet, Show Choir, Dinner Theater, the Hip Hop Concert, the Shrine Circus. In May, MTI and Dakota Wesleyan graduations, the American Cornhole Association competition, and the Julie Christensen dance recital. September, State and National Kids Pedal Poles, and the Corn Palace Rodeo. Were all large events, and of course there was a number of things outdoors that were put off. So, substantial to say the least. I looked at our numbers for January. We just finished, and this really kind of blew me away. For 2020, we had, for 2020 in January 1st to January 30th, we had 23,500 visitors. For 2021, 14,618. We're down 38%. Now, that is all things equal. Tournaments basketball. So, what we're seeing there is the restrictions on our basketball games. And it's pretty obvious. Mitchell High is 4 per person, where we'd get 600 and 700 for a game, we're getting 200 or 150. For Dakota Wesleyan, where we were getting 2,000 to 2,700, packed house, 180. So it's been substantial. Now, Dakota Wesleyan has just opened up more. We expect close to 700 for Wednesday tomorrow night for a double header with Morningside. So but it's really substantial. Nick will share a little bit about concessions. I made a note to the press about masking in place, and we want to address this as a board here shortly. Because Dakota Wesleyan University and Mitchell High are requiring masks through the end of their basketball season, and we only have, besides their games, we have 2 other teams, Howard, Mitchell Christian, Ethan, Tripp Delmont Armor, 2 other games, I should say, the teams. I would like to request the board that we stay with the mask requirement inside the Corn Palace. Even though the city of Mitchell's mask mandate has gone off, we would require it in the Corn Palace, which means our signage stays up, our video boards that request it stay up. We're still doing the hand sanitation, and our announcements prior to game times would stay. And when we're done here, I would like some discussion and suggest a vote on that. I would ask for your support in that. It would go through March 13th, which is our largest event. It's AAU Wrestling. We would expect 1,500 to 1,800 kids during 5 hours in here. And at that point, then we would back off on that, but we could choose to leave it on too. It's kind of up to the event host. But right now, we're making the decision as a Corn Palace to require masks, okay, through March 13th, which is the AAU Wrestling. So I'll come back to that in just a second. 100th year of this building, as you know, it's the 3rd Corn Palace. Some things that have been interesting coming up this year. The Daily Republic, and I think I mentioned it at our last meeting, but he's been doing an article a week about this building. And so what we'd like to do is not just let those come and go in the newspaper, but we will actually print those on a fairly stable poster board and create a storyboard out in our lobby for the whole year. So as our visitors come through, they can read every one of these and some history about the Corn Palace. And we've got an expandable wall board, if you will, so we won't damage the walls or anything like that. It'll be, they're probably going to be 10 by 12 or maybe a full sheets, but not just laminated photocopies. They'll actually be on a poster, so it'll be a good quality item, easy to read from standing at a distance of 2 or 3 feet. So you'll see those pop up in the lobby here shortly. And then today we had the Ion Keloland reporter, Kelly Folk, called last week, wanted to do a Ion Keloland in-depth story about this building in the 100th year of this Corn Palace. So she came about 10 o'clock this morning and stayed till about noon, and that will air next Tuesday, 6 o'clock, I think. I can confirm that and send it out. It'll be next Tuesday the 9th. And we thought it went well. I was on there, Nick was on there, and then we brought Troy Magnuson in from the gift shop, who's got 35 years with the Corn Palace and tourism and the gift shop, and a real historian about the Corn Palace. So we'll see how it plays out. But we appreciate the fact that she was going to put us on, and it brings a little more. And then we plan to do a little more during the festival with the 100 years as well. Okay? That is kind of my report. I guess event-wise, I guess I did have on here about our, since the last time we've had Hanson Girls and Boys Classics on consecutive weekends, the 16th and the 23rd. We've had 2 youth basketball tournaments on Saturdays. They've all gone well, no issues at all. Hanson Boys was by our biggest group. We estimated we had, we only had 2,800 through the doors that day. We estimated 1,600 between 5:30 and 7:30. Otherwise, it was below 1,000 people, which is less than 50%. Hanson Girls Classic was less than that. Sacred Hoops was about 750 maximum in the building. And then the youth tournaments we've had on Saturdays have been nice events. They're a rental for us. Plus, we've been getting real good concessions, and they've been low maintenance. So really a nice addition. And Scott Pepper, who coaches the youth team, brought those to us. And there are people from Huron, Yankton, Mount Vernon, Corsica, Madison. Yeah. So they've been good events. So. Any questions about the director's report? Any discussion? I guess we'd like to have any discussion on the mask. If not, I would like if someone would like to make a motion, we'd like a motion to approve the request for masks in the Corn Palace through March 13th.
I'll make a motion to approve the masks, but what if they aren't wearing masks? I came to the Hanson Classic and the 2 sections around me. If there was 100 people in those 2 sections, 90 of them weren't wearing masks.
I've made no secret about that. At the Girls Classic, we thought we were 75 to 80% masks wearing. Boys Classic, 50% at best. And the best example was, I'll use those names, we had Platt in the south end zone, or the south bleachers, 100% masked students, players. Smet in the north one, not a mask in the bleachers. And so it really comes down to the schools and what they're doing when they say, hey, we're going to go to the Corn Palace and that. So the administrators from the schools, we have the Culver, the DW Culver Classic coming up. They've been very obvious with the requirements for masks and what they're going to do during that tournament. So right now we have no enforcement of that other than asking them to put those on. There's no doubt that would be the case.
We have a motion. Any more further discussion on the mask and face covering?
I'll second that.
Got a first by Ron, second by Jeff.
I do have a question. Do you feel, Doug, with keeping the mask mandate in place at the Corn Palace will enhance attendance, and then obviously if it enhances attendance, it enhances our financial amount that we're going to be receiving?
You know, I think it's 2 different groups. I think folks who are more concerned about COVID, haven't had it, maybe they're older, have some health issues, yes, they feel better when there's a mask mandate in place and they come here. But there's a group that said, you know, they weren't buying into that and want, so my message on Saturday was, we have a mask requirement in the Corn Palace. If you don't have one, they're available in the front entrance. If you don't wear a mask or can't wear a mask, we ask you to move at least 6 feet away from everyone else. And we had people literally just got up and moved. No problem. We have no problem with that. There's plenty of room. But it's very hard to say. It would increase one group, and it would probably decrease the other.
Right. But you feel it's important enough to have it in place with the events coming up?
I do, and for me, it's more about a mixed message with if the high school and the college are going to continue it for the rest of their seasons. It just makes it difficult for people who are coming to watch basketball. Is this a mask event or not a mask event? Mm-hmm. And if we just left it, be consistent. And keep in mind, we're bringing in the largest groups of any events around right now. Yeah. You know, if you go to a high school gym at Hanson, they might have 300 or 400 people. They aren't getting 1,600. They aren't going to get 1,000, you know, in their gym, I'm guessing. We are getting some larger crowds, and I think with the larger crowds, it warrants the request.
I was at an event in Sioux Falls on Sunday at the arena, and they also required masks, which is fine, but I really liked how they roped off every other section, or every other row of seats. Have we thought about doing something like that?
We had thought about that, and kind of Dakota Wesleyan was gonna go that route originally, but then they just opted, those people, if they set in the same row together, or the same row front to back, you really would have to have 2 rows here to be 6 feet apart.
Mhm.
Then what do you do in the same row?
Mhm.
So they did consider that, and really, the policy is about the event, not the event center. Their rules apply. They could say 50% capacity, they all sit in one spot, too. So we've left it up to the high school and basically the people holding the event, not the Corn Palace to set what the rule is. Because then they'd have to follow our rule, and that might not necessarily connect with them. So I'm guessing that was it here in the arena?
No, it was
Sioux
in
Falls.
Sioux Falls.
Oh, Sioux Falls, okay. I didn't want
But
to
even
remember.
at the swim meet this weekend here in Mitchell, we did the same thing. It was every other row and 2 seats in between each family, so.
We did talk about that. We just really felt it would be difficult to keep folks in there. We have people that really tear the tape away from
Yeah,
sponsors.
and there was some of that too, but I know it helped a lot. People like my elderly grandmother, she came because of those sanctions that they had put in place. Mask required and seating was every other
seating
row.
separate.
Yeah, and the Sioux Falls Arena had tons of space, just like I think we probably would. But again, hopefully in March numbers are
It's
even
certainly
better.
something we could look at.
Mhm.
Maybe you can suggest it to the people that are the ones that are renting the palace, that is something that to take into consideration, that we would be willing to, our staff, go through and rope off every other row if that's something that they would feel important.
It wouldn't be difficult to do it also. I can absolutely do that for our upcoming events. So we've got high school, Dakota Wesleyan, and then the DW Classics coming up. So I'll run it by them.
Any other further discussion? Okay, we have a first, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried for the masking face covering through March 13th here at the Corn Palace.
Thank you.
Nick, Assistant Director's Report.
Okay, so in the interest of time, I'm just going to kind of fly through this. A couple of things that I just wanted to note is this last year was definitely interesting, to say the least. Of course, we had COVID, and everybody knows about that. But here in the Corn Palace, we also implemented a new POS system, and it stands for point of sale, not something else. And okay, thank you. And all I want to say about that is that that's helped out some of our lines and the effectiveness and efficiency of how we're doing, kind of bringing people out during our basketball games. It's also allowed us to go down to just one window for a lot of the games, so we've kind of been able to keep our staffing under control without overspending, especially because we haven't been having the events that we normally have. And then we're using a new scheduling app that, again, is just continuing to help us stay more efficient, and just keeping an eye on our expenses, because of course we know that when we don't have a lot of money coming in, or the events that we normally would have, one of the best things you can do is keep an eye on your expenses. I'm sure I'm not saying anything that anybody doesn't know. And then the other thing that I'll just quickly mention is that our social media has grown over 20% as far as how many followers that we have in this last year. That's something that we've spent a lot of time with. We had some trending videos like on TikTok and some other Instagram posts. Our most popular post was a squirrel that was on the side of the house, which I thought was funny, that we have all these Cornelius posts, but the most popular thing was that. And then pretty much that's going to be about it, of things that I think are of super big note. But again, our ultimate goal is just to provide the best possible experience for our visitors. So we're just going to continue to work and evaluate ourselves and see if there's things that we can do to get better. We're going to get a picture and then go by today. Doug starting on Main Street, one of the meetings with Terry Johnson show. Doug, looking at him. He's got a gun. Trying to get that girl, so make sure we don't post that. No, that we will make sure that we're doing the best we can.
Since we're recording, I want everyone to know we have permission from the police department to use an air rifle in the city limits with a hard backstop, which we do. And we're upping our game to catch the varmint. I was really hoping on Groundhog Day we could catch it, but let him see his shadow for sure. So Nick mentioned, in the concessions, and what's interesting is you saw the numbers of what we're down from a year ago, yet our concessions have been really good. So a testament to what he's doing with his team and just refining things. Our kids are really hustling and doing a really nice job. So, and we're thankful for the folks that are buying. Seem to be spending a little more. And I think our signage outside that asks them to leave food outside is helping. No doubt about it. So
I did hear complaints that the Classic only one window open.
the
Night session.
Yep, we talked about this, and that 5 to 7:30 night session, I look out and I go, ooh, we really need that south side open. But other than that, we feel very good where we're at with our lines, and we have 2 windows open, and we'll slide over and open 2 windows. So we saw it, and as we'll watch Dakota Wesleyan, because if they're consistently putting 800 people in here, we'll know tomorrow whether we can open up that another side. So we just haven't seen it yet consistently, and knowing that, given the current conditions, tough to staff if you aren't going to have those kinds of folks. And then the Wesleyan games too, they've had some single games too, men or women. It's amazing how that really cuts the crowd, So the students can vote or invite so many people.
Oh, I was in line twice during the Boys Classic, and twice somebody said, different people, I don't know where they're from, about the selection. They thought it was one of the best selection at a concession stand at a basketball game around. I mean, I don't know where they're from, so there is. I mean, so kudos to you. I don't know what you added or what, but they liked the selection that we had. So, yeah, besides the $24 pizza, but I mean, just kidding.
Nick, he negotiates on those two. I've seen it. So.
All right, anything else for you, Nick?
No, that's
All right.
good, thank you.
Public input. We have some special guests here from Dakota Wesleyan.
Correct. Anyone else from the public? I don't think so. So at that point, we can move into executive session if you would like to do that.
Okay. Need a motion to move into executive session?
I'll make a motion.
Got a first, how about a second? Got a first and a second. To move into executive session to discuss marketing and the murals from Dakota Wesleyan. Got those doors shut?